Hello guys and welcome to episode 3. Oh sorry, I gotta decrease my volume at the stream here. There we go. Anyways, welcome to Trackmania Live. I'm your host Hanken, and with me today I got no one else than frostbeule, or frostbeule as we say. Welcome man.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, of course, just a matter of time. Well, just to begin with, we start off fast here. Tell us shortly about yourself, like you know, age and stuff.
Oh, sure. Well, my real name is Kalle Videkull, and my nickname is Frostbeule is actually the way to say it. It's a German name for it, but frostbeule and frostbeule and any other way is fine to say it too, so it's okay. Sure. But yeah, I come from Sweden, obviously, from a small little town in northern Sweden called Pajala, where I've lived all my life, and I'm currently 24 years old.
Yeah, nice. And I also heard about like frostbeule. It was like frostbite or something, frozen fingers or anything.
Well, that's what I thought it meant in English at first.
Okay.
So at first I was saying like, yeah, it's like frostbite in English, but actually that's not entirely correct. It's actually something called chilblains. You can look it up on Wikipedia if you want after this interview.
Sure will. So to begin with the more relevant stuff here when it comes to Trackmania. When did you start to play Trackmania?
Well, I started very early. I've been playing this game pretty much since it got released. I discovered the game, February 2006, I believe it was, and pretty much 1 week after the game was released. And I'm talking about Trackmania Nations ESWC. So I just I visited this gaming forum because I am a gamer, and that's where I saw a topic about this new racing game, and it was a free racing game too, so I thought I might as well try it. And also it was kind of unrealistic, which I always been drawn to when it comes to racing games. I always like those kind of games, so I thought I'd just download it and try it out, and from there it just continued, and I basically never stopped playing it.
Yeah, cool. And also, what was your first team in Trackmania?
So at the beginning when I played the game, I just played on the ladder. You know, I didn't really care about teams or anything like that. I didn't even really know about that competitive aspect of the game. So I just played on the ladder and tried to get first, which I did as well. Yeah. And then I kind of actually stopped playing the game a little bit. I just played it once in a while. Once when I was playing on this server, just for fun, I got discovered by a guy called Nantec, which he was a team leader of a team called Fisk, a Swedish team. Yeah. So that was my first team, and that was also the Nations Cup team actually for Sweden. So he was recruiting players for the first Nations Cup in the game. And so he saw me and recruited me, and that was my first tournament as well, Nations Cup 1. To talk about the first Nations Cup while we're at it. I wasn't around back in the day, so I don't know much about these days, but I heard of a guy called is it Unnamed or Unaimed? I'm not sure, you know this better. Unaimed, I believe.
And tell me shortly what you remember from him. As I understood, he was one of the better ones, at least in Sweden these days, maybe in the world.
Yeah, he was definitely considered the best Swedish player at the time. Yeah. Madness is another guy that was around at that time. But Unaimed was like, when I was playing just for fun on servers and stuff, he was always the player that I thought was the best one, that I thought was on the same level as I was, and even a bit better than me actually. So he was kind of the first player that I looked up to in a way, that way. And he was in Nations Cup 1 as well in that team. And that was the first ever tournament for me, so I was kind of I wasn't really that good actually. I was good in practice, but not really in matches. Okay. And also I was playing with keyboard back then. I played with keyboard for like 6 months, before I switched over to a gamepad.
Okay.
So yeah, but Unaimed was definitely like a player I looked up to, and I considered as probably the best player at the time.
Yeah. He stopped for some reason, or what happened actually?
I know he attended ESWC 2006.
Oh.
Which was the first ESWC with Trackmania.
Yeah.
And I guess after that he didn't really want to continue play. I don't really know exactly when he stopped playing the game, but he did attend that together with Madness, I believe.
Oh, did it go well for them?
No, I don't think so. I think he maybe got top 8 or something like that.
Yeah, it was Carl who won that year, right?
Yeah, Carl won against Bajur, I believe.
Never heard of.
She's an Austrian player that not many people know about, but he was like also one of those early good players.
Oh, cool. Yeah, nice. And also, you mentioned a guy, Nantech. That's a guy I never heard of. He was like pretty much into Trackmania earlier than, as you recruited.
Yeah, I believe he was playing the earlier Trackmania games.
Okay.
So Trackmania Original and Sunrise.
Yeah.
He wanted me actually to start playing those games as well. And when United came a bit later, he wanted me to start playing, Sunrise, those kind of Trackmania games.
Yeah.
Other environments, but I never really did that. I just stuck to Stadium.
Yeah, exactly. And also, back in the days, did they even use drifting, or did that come later?
No, actually, that's wasn't really discovered. I'm not sure when exactly it was discovered, but I don't think I played with it in Nations Cup 1. I'm not sure. Maybe I did, but it took at least a couple of months before people discovered that it was actually faster to drift in this Trackmania game, because in all the earlier Trackmania games, it was actually faster to not drift, so you wanted to avoid that as much as possible. But when Stadium came, it was like the opposite, so you wanted to drift. And actually that's why I kind of also was drawn to the game, because I really like racing games where you want to drift a lot and have like a nice control of your vehicle. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Also, when you began, you said you played a lot on ladder and stuff. Do you remember, like, you had a favorite server, or you visited different ones? If you remember, that is.
Well, in the beginning, I only played Time Attack, so that was the easiest way to get, the most points, because I was just trying to play in the ladder and try to get as many points. But once I had reached first, it wasn't really that much fun anymore. So that's when I started to play more round servers. And back in the day, there were many more round servers than now. Like now, there's mostly just Time Attack for some reason.
Yeah.
But back in the day, there were these round servers, especially one server called UK Rounds in the UK, and also one called Set Rounds, which was also a UK-based round server.
Yeah.
And that's where I spent a lot of my time just playing the game for fun, because I've always preferred playing rounds over Time Attack. Time Attack has never really been, the way I enjoy the game. So I've always liked playing rounds. And those were servers I spent a lot of time on, just playing rounds with maybe 30 to 40 people. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember those days myself, even though I never were at your level. But anyways. Well, to go on through in time here, we were at Nations Cup 1 and you were currently playing in the team called Fisk. Which was your second team? And also, were Fisk competitive, or was that only like ladder stuff, or were they in any way competitive?
I don't think I played any team tournaments with them, actually. Okay. I only played Nations Cup, which wasn't really... it was Sweden, but it was also Fisk. So I didn't really play. I don't remember exactly which my second team was. I believe it was... let me see here, if I can find a list with the teams. Because I have a list.
Yeah, the sheet list.
Alright, so okay. So OND was actually my second team.
Oh,
which was a Norwegian-based team on Death Row.
Yeah, wasn't Sander there as well, right?
Yes, Sander and Bergie as well, and some other Norwegian mostly Norwegian players, I believe.
Yeah.
So that was my second team.
Okay. And then I imagine that from Und to H2K perhaps, or was there something in between there?
No, after that was Crossed.
Oh, Crossed, yeah, Crossed.
Which 3 of the O&D players moved over. So me, Bergi, and Italian player called Rask.
Okay.
Rask,
yeah.
which was the best Italian player at the time.
Oh.
We moved over to Crossed, which was a bit more serious of a team, I suppose, but it didn't last for that long. I didn't play for them for that long.
Okay.
So,
yeah, and was this the time around, like, let's say, had Nations Cup already been, or was it about to start? If we talk about at the Crossed time, so to speak.
With the cross time, I believe it was like Nations Cup 2, Nations Cup 3, around that time. So Fisk was Nations Cup 1, O&D was probably Nations Cup 2.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And around Nations Cup, then I guess Unaimed didn't play. He had stopped already, right?
I think he only played Nations Cup 1.
Okay.
I'm not entirely sure, but I think he only played that one. So he wasn't really around for that long. Like 2006, 2007, and then he stopped playing, I think.
Yeah. To go back shortly to Nations Cup 1 then, I forgot to ask that. How did we place and who won that, the first Nations Cup?
France won that, so no surprise.
No surprise there.
But yeah, we had France in our group stage.
Yeah.
And I think we won against them in the group stage.
Yeah, I think I heard that as well now when you mention it, that we actually won again.
We won against them, I think. It was a close match at least.
Yeah.
Then in the playoffs, we went out in the semifinal against France. We met them again.
Yeah.
Even though we were in the same group, which doesn't make sense, but no one knew how the rules were going to be at that time. So yeah, we lost against them in the semifinal. I think it was pretty close. And then France won against Brazil in the final, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Cool. Oh, so okay. So we're moving back now, or not moving back. We go into the future again. Nations Cup 2, which was, I guess, somewhere around Crossed, as you mentioned. Any new players in the team of Sweden that you remember, like Madness played with you in this one or not?
Yeah, Madness was definitely one of the top players, and Sago was another one.
Yeah, Sago.
We all know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really remember who else were in the team.
Caruso?
There were a lot of people. I wish I could actually access the page for Nations Cup 2, but it seems like it's not available.
Yeah, I think it's to Nations 3 or Cup 3 or something. Then it's like impossible.
No pages are working right now.
No, okay. My bad.
But let's see. What place did we get back then?
Yeah.
Cup? I don't. I have like a list with all my achievements and stuff, so I can just look it up that way.
Yeah, sure.
We went quarterfinals, Nations Cup 2. So not as good as Nations Cup 1, where we got shared third place. I don't remember who we lost against in Nations Cup 2, though.
Okay.
So
shit happens. And then I guess from Crossed, you moved to H2K, right?
No, then it was NWO, which was H2K.
Okay.
I mean, at the time, the team was H2K, I think. So, and then shortly after I joined, they left that organization because it was a really bad organization, many esports organizations are. So we just went back to New World Order. So that was the same team, basically.
Yeah, and that was with Cell and KTD as clan leaders, if I remember this right.
Yes, those were the guys leading the team. So
yeah, and this is where when I started to follow esports in Trackmania, at least, then I often watched NVO, and that is a special team to me, and I guess to you as well, as it's a team that you've been in, at least. Could you tell us, like, how was it to be in like New World Order? I mean, you were considered to be, at least at that time, more or less best in the world, and you had so many good players in it as well.
Yeah, I guess it was considered like the first super team.
Yeah.
Trackmania. But yeah, like Sander, of course, needs to be mentioned. He was
for sure.
my rival at the time.
Yeah.
We played against each other many times, especially
Yeah.
Playlinc, which is the one that most people probably know about.
Yeah.
So, but then we were in O&D together, actually, not in WO. But yeah, other guys like Tanis, which is like one of the best French players, and then Gnome, or Gnome,
the Russian, right?
Yeah, Russian player, and who else? There were so many good players. So
yeah, there were many there.
But those were kind of the main, I guess, the best players in the team, I suppose.
Yeah, for sure. And didn't you also have, what's the other French guy? He was very famous around then. I don't think he plays anymore. It wasn't Tannis. I think
Selrak was a guy.
Yeah, that was also one of them.
Yeah, he didn't play in NWO though.
No, it was in AAA or something, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about another guy, but anyways, we could think about that all the day, I guess. So let's skip that one. So anyways, that was a really... For how long did NWO last? It was for a quite long time, if I remember it right.
Yeah, I think I played with them for almost a year, actually. So from 2007 July to 2008 June, when I joined N faculty.
Yeah.
So I was in 1 year there. I haven't really had many teams, to be honest. Like some people have been in many teams, but I've been in kind of always the same team. Like O&D and Crosswood, I know, there was kind of the same guys.
Yeah.
And same with NWO and H2K, obviously.
Yeah.
And Joytech and Acer later on, but we can go to that later, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. And then I guess I want to talk about one thing. You won a lot, of course. I think you also won a close one against, I guess you met Dignitas many times, but one match I really remember, that I'm not sure which stadium championship it was. I take a wild guess, and I guess it was the third. I could be wrong, but I remember when you met Try Again. I guess many were at least thinking you were gonna win, but that didn't happen this time.
It was actually STC4.
Okay, STC4 then. Yeah.
Yeah, we were like the big favorites, and we didn't have any trouble beating the teams up to the final. But for the final, we kind of had some problems. We didn't have many players available. I remember it was basically me, Sander, Tanis, and Gnome.
Yeah.
So, and from what I remember, Tanis and Gnome had some lag problems on one of the maps, which screwed us up a lot, because I think it was 1-1. We had both won one map each, and then the third map, which was like the multi-map, we kind of failed because two of our players had so much lag they couldn't play really, and so me and Sander were the only ones. And Try Again, I mean, that was a really solid team too, so it wasn't really a super surprise that they could give us a match. But I thought we would definitely win that one, and sadly I've never won the STC. That was my best chance, I guess.
Yeah, closest at least. Winning it. Yeah, I remember also they had like a lot of French guys in Try Again, and also I don't know if this is funny or not, but for a very long time I always thought, like, not the Bliss from Germany, but they also had a guy called, at least back then he was called Blissou. So I always thought he was French as well. So when I saw that he was from Portugal, I was kind of like, oops. But that was like half year ago when I realized he was from Portugal, and I always thought he was from French. So they trolled me with their OU, or how to say it, at the end. Like every player more or less had that.
Yeah, there's some people with the same nicknames that can be kind of confusing.
Yeah, they tricked me, so to speak. Anyways, let's talk about both. I guess this is both sad or I don't know how to put it, but let us talk a little bit about ESWC 2008, which you obviously won, and you can tell us what you want to tell us about it. If you want, you don't have to go into everything if you don't want to.
No, but yeah, that was like my big goal back in the day, because I had graduated from school and then I wanted to focus on esports, and I wanted to attend ESWC, because in the past I could have already attended the first ESWC and also 2007 if I wanted, and I was good enough to like win back then too. But back then I wasn't really as serious. I mean, I didn't want to take any risks, I guess. I was kind of scared, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, for 2008, I really wanted to give it a chance. And see how well I would do, because everyone was saying that I was just, online player, that I was only good online. And I hadn't played offline yet. So I was in NWO at the time when I made that decision. And so for preparation, I wanted to attend, just some kind of offline event before ESWC. So I attended the Excel party in Portugal. So KTD from NWO paid my trip there, and I went there and won that tournament. And that was kind of like preparation for ESWC. So then for ESWC, I decided to join M faculty, because NWO didn't have any sponsors, and it was just one guy paying, from his own pocket. And I kind of thought that was wrong, so I decided to join M faculty, who decided to sponsor me and send me to ESWC Masters, which
in France,
since Sweden didn't have any qualifiers for ESWC. So because of that, I had to attend ESWC Masters, which was kind of like a side event for them, where people from nations with no qualifiers could have a chance to qualify for the grand final, which was going to be in San Jose in USA. So I went there and played really well, but I went out in the winner bracket final, where Xenogear and Lion got first and second, and I went down to the loser bracket. But then I came back to the final, and at the final I got third, which I wasn't really too happy about, because I felt like I was much better than that. But it was kind of also my first time playing on a big stage and all that, and I thought I think that affected me a lot, which made me only finish third, but that was enough to qualify at least, so I was happy with that. About maybe 1 month later, I went to the grand final, which was in USA, which was like amazing. I was really excited about that, and went there. That was just amazing, the experience. Although it didn't start that well, because we had some flight delays and we had to stay over in Chicago. I remember, over the night, which was terrible. But it was so very exciting to be there, and that tournament, I mean, it went so well for me. I felt so confident throughout the whole tournament, really. And I didn't feel like I had any trouble at all during the matches. I was super confident and won all my matches pretty confidently. And then in the grand final, I think I got 140 points out of 150 total. So
pretty nice.
I probably have never played better than that. It was everything was perfect, and I felt like even when I was behind, I remember especially one round against Xenogear, where he was leading with maybe like 20 to 30 hundreds. But I still felt like I could take him, and I did. Like, I played perfectly the last part of the map and just passed him before the finish line. And so it was really an amazing experience for me, and I felt like I reached my goal, and I proved them wrong, that I was like not just an online phenomena, that I could also play just as good offline. And actually I felt like I was playing even better offline. Like, the more pressure and stuff, the better I played, which I always thought was one of my best, like one of my best attributes, I suppose. So that was amazing, winning that. Of course, then the company went bankrupt. Which wasn't that much fun, which meant that I wouldn't get my prize money, which really sucked.
and also been trying so hard to get there. I mean, first you had to travel to France and didn't go perfect. It did go okay, and then go to USA, which also is I mean, it's nice to be there and trip and all that, of course, but I mean, no prize money. I mean,
I mean, I was kind of taking it serious. I didn't really. I mean, the trip was cool and all that, but I was there to win. You know.
Yeah.
That's always how I have looked at the game. I will always, you know, try to take it as serious. That was fun to me. You know. So,
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, so that was really lame. And then of course they came back with a different company with just buying the brand ESWC, but they didn't want to pay the prize money for those that won 2008. So I decided to boycott them, which I have done ever since. And now the old people that were back then when the company went bankrupt are back in charge. But they have told me that they will pay the prize money this year, finally. So if they do that, then I will try to qualify again for ESWC.
Yeah, let's hope so. It would be nice to see you there again, although I understand why you haven't gone there.
Yeah, I mean, many people have said like, don't really understand why I did that. Like they said, like you are young, you should just take the opportunity and just have fun and whatever. But for me, that's just not how I look at the world. I suppose I have something called morals. That's very important to me, and I felt like I couldn't live with myself if I decided to just screw it and say, oh, whatever, they screwed me back then, doesn't matter, I'll just go back and risk to be screwed again, because that's how I felt, that there were no guarantees really that I wouldn't get screwed again, you know, and that would just be super terrible if that happened, if I got double screwed.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's different point of viewing it, of course, and that's your opinion and that's how you feel about it, so your decision, of course. And I guess, like, I mean, not everyone has been in your situation, so it's easy to have an opinion as well. But I haven't been in that situation, so I don't know really how I would react to it. But
I mean, I was very angry too, like, and I didn't feel like they deserved to have me play there. They probably didn't even see me as someone, you know, because this is a small game and everything, and there's so many much bigger games with much bigger people and stars, you know. But I felt like I had to like make a mark in the sand, you know, that this is not okay for me, and this is not what I think esports should be like, you know. I can't accept that as a player, and I shouldn't either. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I agree with that, to be honest. So that was ESWC. Let us talk about maybe not as funny as well, but still, I didn't see this live. I'm not sure I had started with Trackmania or not, or maybe I just missed it. But I'd seen the VOD of it, and what the hell? Sorry for my language. Like Playlinc with, was it like $20,000 or something in prize money?
Yeah, that was before ESWC and everything, just online, and that was like a shock for everyone, even for Nadeo, I think, who didn't really expect to have like I don't even know how it happened, to be honest. I know Playlinc was like some Danish internet company or whatever. They had some software called Playlinc, which was something, I don't even know what it was, but you had to download it and play the game through that. So maybe it was kind of like a team or something like that. But yeah, they had I guess they decided to hold a Trackmania tournament with this new game. So, and that was like 2006. So it was like late 2006, I think it was. Maybe it was 2007. But yeah, they got Verizon sponsoring it. And Verizon is, for those who don't know, is like this huge American phone company, I think. Like, I think that's what it is. Like they have like phones and stuff like that. So yeah, they sponsored with $40,000 in total for a Trackmania tournament, and I mean that was just crazy. I think like over 1,000 people signed up for the qualifiers at first, and yeah, it was kind of funny because the maps were terrible. The worst maps you can imagine we had to play.
Yeah.
On qualifiers, there were like so many crazy turns, and I mean, it wasn't competitive friendly whatsoever.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just had normal time attack qualifiers at first. I think maybe 2 rounds of that, so you had to just get like top 500, top 100, and so on.
Yeah.
And then you reached a playoffs phase where it was I don't know, maybe 32 players or something, and it was single elimination as well. And the funny thing is that there was only one map, and the map was released 24 hours before the playoffs phase, and it was going to be played in the middle of the night as well, because they had this streaming company or whatever streaming the match, and they were Americans, I believe.
Okay.
So we had to play at like 3 a.m. or something like that. The final was at 3 a.m.
Yeah, not the perfect conditions then, I guess.
No. But yeah, I remember it went pretty well for me, but at like the quarterfinals or something like that, I was super close to not making it. I just made it by a hair, I believe. I don't remember who I played against exactly. I think one of the guys were Dridri, which was a French player.
That was the French player we're thinking of. No.
Yeah,
no, Didier was the French player I thought about.
Oh, okay. Okay, he was also playing in some team with me.
Yeah.
It was Joyotech, I think it was in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But yeah, I eventually did reach the final, which was going to be played like at 3 a.m. or something. And I think it was 8 players, and all the top players, like the very best players at the time, all were in that final. And there's a video of this on TMTube. Yeah. You can search on that and see the whole final, I think.
Yeah.
Or maybe just the last part of the final. But yeah, it started off great for me. I remember I won the 2 first rounds, so I had 20 points, and I was leading over all the other players. And it continued like that. I got first or second many times. And the rules were kind of weird because you only played to like 60 points, and the one that reached 60 points first won.
Yeah.
So yeah, I started playing good, and then I started to get nervous because, you know, first place was $20,000.
Yeah, a lot of money.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, and I was in the lead. It was like one of my first online tournaments ever.
Yeah.
And I was in the lead, and I had only a couple of more rounds if I just played decently well. And then I started to crumble because I was getting nervous, and Sander, who was like my rival at the time, started playing much better, and he started to win rounds after rounds after rounds. And he started to come back, and then it was just, you know, both players had like around 50 points or something like that. And I was still in the lead, so I could still like make it if I just was ahead of him. But then the last round, I remember Sander got first again, because he was like in some kind of, he was driving amazing.
Yeah.
I got fourth, so that meant we both got 61 points each.
Yeah.
And the rules stated that, you know, the one that got first over 60 points won.
Yeah.
But since both players had 61, it was decided by the one that was shown as first in the game. Sander was shown first in the game, and I don't know why I accepted that, but I kind of just, okay, Sander got first. He's shown first in the game, so I guess that makes sense. But it didn't make sense at all, and
no.
I mean, I should have just said like, hey, let's play one more round to decide this. But I was just so new to all this competitive stuff, and I was like, I didn't really want to interfere, or, you know, I wasn't that confident back then. So I just kind of accepted that, even though we both, you know, we were both first, but I got second place, which meant I only won $8,000, which was still a lot of fun.
Which was more than like WCG 2009, I guess, or something. Like, wasn't that like $7,000?
Yeah. And so yeah, that was let's just say I couldn't sleep that night because
I can imagine that.
I had school the day after, and it was just it was like a happy feeling, and at the same time I was feeling horrible because I know that I screwed it up. Even though I didn't screw it up, but at the time I thought like, it was my fault. I should have won and stuff. So that was an amazing tournament.
Yeah, for sure.
That not many people may know of, only the really old school players, because it was like one of the most earliest tournaments. But that was a really cool tournament, even though things didn't go as I thought it would. Yeah,
it is what it is, but I understand your feelings, of course. If this was today, I guess it would be a deciding round, or I mean, you don't
Yes.
decide tournaments like
No.
that.
No, that was really stupid. But
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, it was a real nice tournament. I've seen this one as a VOD myself, and I also remember like you all had the same car skin, like black or red or something.
Yeah, it was a Verizon map
Okay, like
to show the
commercial.
sponsor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so let's move a bit in time here, or no, let's stay in like around 2008, 2009, around there. And we're not going to focus on KarjeN today because I interviewed him last time, but we should talk about this. And I guess you were considered to be one of the best in the world, or maybe the best one in the world overall. And then this young guy from Sweden as well came. I guess this started to happen in Dreamhack, where you led, I guess, with you were finalist, and he were like, I'm not sure 100% if I'm correct here now, but he was like 3 rounds behind that.
I was more than that.
Oh, it was even more.
Maybe like 40, 50 points or something. It's pretty much a lot.
Yeah, so what really happened? Did you play not as good as finalist, or did he just play insane?
Well, I guess I can bring it back more than that and just say,
sure.
like,
Go
after ESWC 2008, I was super confident. I was like, I'm the best in the world. No one can beat me. And I felt like that, for many months. And then Dreamhack was going to happen. And, KarjeN, like, I can talk about KarjeN because he was around at that time. Like, I think he started at 2007 and he played in Nations Cup. I'm not sure which one was the first, but I mean, at the time he wasn't really. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't anything
fast but
special.
not constant.
What?
Fast but not as consistent. I guess.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, but he wasn't as fast as he is now.
No, true.
And he was playing with keyboard as well, and I thought like, okay, this is a good player, but I should easily win.
Yeah.
And then for Dreamhack, I mean, in practice, I even remember. Like he asked me like for a controller because he wanted to buy a gamepad.
Yeah.
And then I recommended the same gamepad that I was using, which was a Logitech cordless Rumble Pad 2.
Yeah.
And so that was a bit before Dreamhack, and I think he bought it before Dreamhack, and a little while before, maybe 1 month or something like that.
Yeah.
And I still thought, that wouldn't really matter. He wouldn't improve that fast. But what happened was that he got through a lot better with that gamepad.
Yeah.
Like, he was so much better. And I remember in practice before Dreamhack that, especially one round when we played just rounds training, that he set a super nice time, like, a normal KarjeN time, I guess, these days. But I was kind of surprised because he hadn't really been like that kind of special player up until then. At all, and then suddenly he was kind of okay. This is a good player, but still, I felt like I was much more consistent than him back then, and still could drive fast times. And so coming into Dreamhack, I was still very, very confident that I would take it and all that.
Yeah.
But talking about that Dreamhack tournament, it was kind of not the best way to start it off because I was supposed to. Borrow a laptop that Gallo, the German player Gallo, he was going to also attend the event, and he was going to bring a laptop from N faculty, which was my team at the time.
Okay.
So I was going to play on that, but what happened was, I don't know if Gallo wants me to say this, but I think he went to the wrong airport. And because of that, he couldn't attend the event, and also I didn't have a laptop, so I had gone to the event, and I didn't have any computer to play on.
Okay.
So I was feeling kind of like, oh shit, what am I going to do now? But luckily, UNP, which is like a Swedish community member, and he was organizing the event, and I was allowed to play on his laptop. So that's what I did. I played on his laptop throughout the whole tournament and for the final as well, and that worked fine. So that was cool, and I started playing good. And in the final, I was like my normal self. I was playing really well, and I reached finalist, which was not in ESWC. This was actually the first offline tournament with finalist mode in it.
Yeah.
And I didn't like it at the time. Even before that, I was critical to it because I don't think it's fair at all. And I think it's bullshit, if I can say that.
Yeah, you can.
But anyway, I reached finalist mode at like 150 points, I think, and I was so much ahead of all the others. KarjeN even, he was like at maybe over 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I only had to win one more round. It's so easy, right?
Yeah.
So, but
No
then
problem.
KarjeN starting to play, at that amazing level that probably only he can be at these days. And he started to win round after round, driving super fast times. And I wasn't really playing that bad, but finalist mode, the way it works is that the best chance you have is the first round, because that's when you maybe aren't as nervous and you had the best chance then. And then the more it goes, the more rounds you have to try, the more like hopeless you feel. Like you play against 3 other players, and it's very hard. Like mentally, it's super hard to be in that state, and I've been in that state many times, and also been the guy that's been hunting, and it's so much easier to play then because you feel like you have nothing to lose. Like I'm sure KarjeN felt like that. He had nothing to lose. He could just play one round at a time, and that's what he did. And he came back. I must have been like 40 to 50 points or something like that.
Yeah.
And won against me. And I remember I smashed my gamepad at the table.
Yeah.
Like I was, so mad.
Yeah, the battery accident, right?
What?
Wasn't it like the batteries flew out and you had to borrow, like?
Yeah, the batteries flew out and I had to go to KarjeN because, as mentioned, he had the same gamepad.
Yeah.
And so I had to go and borrow his batteries because I couldn't find mine. They had flew away somewhere. So I went there and then came back and then got second. And that was Dreamhack. And after that, KarjeN was considered like my rival after that.
Yeah, and also to that part, like I remember a quote from you actually. It was on a server. I remember you said it was quite funny, but I guess you didn't feel that. But you said like, I tried to win against KarjeN, but it's impossible. I don't know if you remember this or if you just felt like that day or at the moment. But how did you feel? Like was he, when he peaked? Did you feel it was impossible, or you felt like, of course you will try to win against him, but it felt like I'm happy with second because it's impossible to win? Or you ever felt like that feeling you had when you were peaking yourself and considered to be the best in the world?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it felt because I was, the world champion, and I felt like I was the best, and then he showed up like. All of a sudden, maybe the gamepad helped him a lot, just as it helped me. When I went from keyboard to gamepad, I became like so much better. Yeah. So I think that was kind of the same for him as well. But so 2008 kind of ended in a sad note for me because I was the world champion, but people were saying like, "Oh, KarjeN is better than you because he won against you," even though I still felt like I was better. I mean, I was 50 points ahead of him.
Yeah, for sure. Too early to judge. Okay, he's best now. It was just one tournament, so. Yeah.
Exactly. But for 2009, of course, World Cyber Games was a thing. There were no ESWC that year because they went bankrupt. So World Cyber Games was the next like World Championship, and of course I wanted to be there. I was like the world champion. Yeah. But the problem was that Sweden was only going to have one slot for Trackmania. Yeah. So that felt really bad because KarjeN was just getting better and better and better. He was playing online tournaments and winning against me there as well. Yeah. And I felt like kind of, so this is so typical for me because I was second at Playlinc and now I'm gonna be second again because of this guy, and so that felt kind of lame. But I still felt like it was possible for me to win, and I did win against him, but not in the finals. I never
semifinals, right?
Yes, all the semifinals I kind of always won against him, and then lost in the finals.
Yeah, but and he was actually pretty close to. Had some problems in the semifinal, wasn't he? Like finalist at the same time with Carl or something.
Yeah, you mean for that? But
was this earlier or?
Yeah, but I can talk about the qualifiers first.
Oh,
because,
sorry, I was okay. Go ahead.
So the
Yeah,
qualifiers were going to be in Stockholm, and as mentioned, there was only going to be one slot, and so it was only basically me and KarjeN that it was going to be. There were some other guys, but we were the two ones that were going to fight for that. So I didn't manage to win. I remember he was finalist one round before me.
Yeah,
and I did manage to win one finalist round. I believe, very close, and then he won the next one. So he took first place, and I was like, oh, okay, I can't even go to World Cyber Games, and I'm the world champion.
Yeah.
So that felt terrible. But then I talked with the guys at the event, and they said, like, if you pay the license yourself, you had to pay a license to participate in World Cyber Games. You can attend, they said. So I said, like, oh, what the hell, YOLO, as they say now.
They sure do.
Go and just pay that because I had, some money. So I just paid that. I just said whatever, and I went to China, by myself, and because I wanted to attend, and I felt like I deserved to attend as well. And of course, in China, we all know that KarjeN got first and I got second.
Yeah.
We were the two best players there.
For sure.
And also, like, I mean, as you mentioned, in the semifinal, I did win against Carl and KarjeN, and that felt really good. I felt like I was better.
Yeah.
And also in the final, I was better because I reached finalist first.
Yeah, you did.
So, and I was like 2 rounds before KarjeN finalist or something like that. But then, of course, again, I couldn't win that last round. I was
the KarjeN curse.
Yeah. I couldn't win that last round as usual, and so KarjeN came back and won. Even though in the end, I got more points than him.
Yeah.
But he won because, finalist mode.
Yeah.
So I got second at that event, and that meant that I got back all the money that I had spent on the trip. So that was still a nice feeling because I was kind of, it was kind of a big risk. I don't think many people would have done what I did, which
Probably
was,
not. Yeah.
I mean, it was like 20,000 Swedish kronor or something I spent this trip by myself, and then I got it all back pretty much. So that was a pretty amazing experience, to be honest. The whole the World Cyber Games China, because it was so much on the line, and I had to reach the final, to get the money back and all that. And it was just a crazy event. And even though I got second, I wasn't really, super unsatisfied, even though I felt like I could have gotten first. But if anyone that was going to beat me, it must have been KarjeN, because there were no other player that could have really challenged me at the time.
No. So. The only player I felt in this tournament that I guess got screwed because of he were on the same side as you in the bracket, so to speak, as you and KarjeN, that was Carl, because I felt he played, no offense to Bergie and Pesce at this time, but I felt he played way better than they did, because you were far ahead compared to Bergie and Pesce, and Carl were finalists at the same time as KarjeN. So
I mean, that semifinal, I remember it because it was so weird, because after each map there were 5 warm-up rounds for some reason.
Okay.
Like the admin didn't know the game, he was like a Need for Speed player or something, and he put 5 warm-ups rounds, and Carl and KarjeN reached finalist mode the last round on one map, and then 5 warm-up rounds before they were going to decide who was going to win. And imagine that, to wait those 5 warm-ups round. And then KarjeN won just by a hair against Carl in the last one.
The drama KarjeN as usual.
Yeah, that was really crazy. I was happy for KarjeN because I wasn't really we were friends. We shared the hotel room and everything. So
for sure.
I was happy to reach the final because I thought he deserved it. But Carl as well deserved to be in the final. But unfortunately, he was in the wrong side of the bracket. With me.
Yeah, and also I remember, I'm not sure how much you can talk about this, but wasn't it some drama earlier in I heard some rumors that one player didn't want to win his group as he were afraid to be in the same group as I think it was with you and KarjeN. Is this true or just bullshit?
No, that's true. That's Moriah, the poor
okay.
player. Me and him and Tamarillo actually were in the same group.
Yeah.
And the winner would go in the same bracket as KarjeN, because KarjeN would get first in his group.
Yeah.
So that meant that we didn't really want to get first, and so Mariah, as he started to stop at the finish line and stuff like that. I mean, I admit I didn't either want to be in the same bracket, or want to be in the same bracket.
Yeah.
I tried to do it a bit more smoothly, I didn't stop at the finish line, so I was kind of mad at him because he made it so obvious that he didn't care, and that was kind of lame. But then I just decided, screw it, I'm just gonna win. I'm just gonna take the fight with KarjeN and Carl, because that's where it was going to land at, the super semifinal. I thought,
sure.
like, I'm good enough to do this, and so I just took that decision, and it turned out good either way.
For sure. And I also remember it was quite nice. It felt like it is VCG, so I guess that was at least tries to be like the Olympics of esport in some way. At least I feel that way, with like the ceremony in the beginning, and that Olympic feeling with all the countries there and flags and stuff.
I mean, it had a bigger status then than it has now.
For
like
sure.
Now it's not really a major tournament at all.
Not at all.
But back then it was like the main event for any game, really. And especially for Trackmania, which was, I mean, it was amazing that we were in World Cyber Games, and I'm really sad that we screwed up that opportunity. But at the time it was amazing, and it was just such a cool place. And to go to China as well, like I really wanted to go and just experience that. And I definitely don't regret spending all that money and going there, and just that was a lot of fun.
Cool stuff. So where shall we go? Shall we take some questions? I guess I got more questions here, but if we talk about all of them, you will miss the match. so let's not do.
Cool.
It's cool.
I got time. It's playing at 8, so that's fine.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well, I can take some questions in between my own questions here, I guess, if that is okay with you, Frost.
That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, this is a question I kinda had myself, but that is nice. Who does Frost? But who do you consider as the best player at the moment? When it comes to tournaments and stuff like that, online, offline, you pick the choice.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy answer. I think most people agree with me too, and that's KarjeN. It's for sure the one that's playing the best right now. And I mean, the Alienware tournament, which was recently, he was so impressing. Like he won, like he didn't lose any rounds. It was like seeing myself in like 2008 or something. Like he won almost all the rounds, and just control the match in a way that's very impressive, and that's very hard to do. So I would have to say KarjeN without a doubt. He's the best player. And maybe some people say like KarjeN is still the best, but I think that's KarjeN hasn't played in really any individual tournament since World Cyber Games 2009. I believe that was his last. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's kind of old merits to say that KarjeN is the best. So I there's only really one answer, and that's KarjeN.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's not active anymore as KarjeN is, so can't judge him on old merits. So I agree with that. The only time I think like KarjeN made some, not comeback or anything, but he had a cool match with you. I remember 2012 in, was it ESL 1 versus 1 or something?
Yeah, the grand final of ESL Major Series. We played a 1 versus 1, which was actually the first time we ever played a 1 versus 1 against each other.
Oh, okay.
That match was pretty fun. He won 7-4, and I mean, it was super close. I didn't really play best, I felt like, but I was kind of nervous too, so I guess it's fine. But yeah, that was a funny match, and there's a video that KarjeN made actually that I recommend everyone to watch, because especially one round is just hilarious. Yeah,
the double crash at the same part, right? That was fun. So that question, by the way, sorry I didn't mention this, was from a guy called Fresh Kug or something. I hope I did pronounce that right. And we also got a question here from Niklas 2011. Frost, what do you think about the gap between the pro scene a few years ago and the pro scene now? How much more difficult is it now compared to then, you think, or if it's the other way around?
Well, it's definitely harder because, I mean, the game is older and people still play the game, so that's just natural that people get better, and I mean, and there's more people who play now, and so yeah, it's definitely better now. Just the amount of people that's on that top level, but I mean, it's not really that big of a difference though, because the game, to be honest, isn't doing that well. Like, it's not getting popular or anything, so that's kind of not the best development, but still, I think the level is much better now than it was then.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that answers the questions.
Yeah, for sure. And also, what do you think about like the future of Trackmania? Like, what is needed to make it grow even more and also including, I guess, that question, do you think TrackMania² Stadium will make a difference? Will it grow, or do you think it will stay the same? What do you think?
Well, I certainly hope it will make a difference, but to be honest, I can't really say that I'm like super confident that it will do that. I think Nadeo have done some kind of weird decisions in the past. Free zone, which most people know about, was kind of a strange decision that limited the game, and then they said that they would never support nations again, and then they bring out this game now, this new game, which is great, but I'm kind of worried that they will just bury the game with their other titles, their other Mania Planet titles, because I've talked to Hillis and he got this idea that it's all like collective, like all the games are like connected to each other. So Shootmania, Trackmania, it's all kind of the same thing to him.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, like, I only care about Stadium. Like, Stadium that's my esport, and that's all the game. All I care about. That's the game that I like, and that's the game I see like as an esport.
Yeah.
So I kind of want a better focus on that. I think that's important, that the developers kind of want to make the game an esport, and I'm not too, I don't feel that confident that Nadeo will do that. I mean, they will add some new stuff to this new game, TM2 Stadium, and so we will see. But I really, if people still continue to play nations, then we have a really bad situation, because that will resemble, Counter-Strike 1.6 and so on. And we all know that was like a really bad thing that split their community really badly.
For sure.
And so that's kind of what I'm worried about. And also I feel like Trackmania it's not really going anywhere. Like, it's kind of, at the same place. It's not, I feel like the game can still be more than it is right now. It can have like something else to it, how you compete in it. So maybe some strategic elements to it, for example. I think that would be a really cool thing if there's like a racing game that has all the things that Trackmania has, which is like great control, like great creative aspects to it, like, building maps, building skins, and making movies. All that is great, and I love that, combination of being creative and also being competitive.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing, and that's what makes Trackmania Stadium such a great esport. But I also feel like it maybe needs something else. Like, it needs to have work on it to make it better as an esport. I think it's just kind of standing still right now.
I'm not sure how much effect this had. I guess nations had many competitive players forever also now these days. To me personally, I don't know, this is different from person to person. I do of course remember that nations didn't have that forever has. And some say, or I've heard, like that Nadeo have, I don't know if this is an excuse or if this is really the issue. Like, it was meant to be there to be a part of the game, or they can answer this better, but nonetheless, do you think that this adds to the game or I mean, some do. At least some of the bugs, as I talked with. To me personally, I don't think so. But what do you say? And when you played, like, you have tried Stadium 2 a little, I guess.
Yeah.
Were there as many bugs, or have they changed anything when it comes to that part? Or is it too early to say?
Well, I guess at first I can say that
Yeah.
I don't think that they intended it to be the way. I think it was kind of like a, they got lucky, because I think it's a good thing
Okay.
with those so-called bugs. I don't see them as bugs, actually. I see them as obstacles that makes the game more interesting, because really what they bring to the table is that you need to be, in a way, you have to be strategic, because you have to know when to drive risky and when to drive safe. That they, like the Ramstein, for example, allows for that. So if you're ahead of people, you're not gonna drive over them. Like you can avoid them. You don't have to drive over them. You will drive a bit slower, but you will be enough. You will still win. But if you're behind, then you gotta drive over them. And that I think that is like a great dynamic to the game, and I think that makes the game a better esport, to be honest. And then to talk about the TrackMania² Stadium, and how the game is different there, it's basically the same game. I think they made the car race a bit above the ground, if that makes sense. So, and that was kind of from what I talked to Hyllis at the Gamers Assembly, which was a couple of months ago, and he said that was to avoid a bit of the so-called bugs. So, for example, the landing bug, I can see that being an issue. I don't want that to happen. Like, that's kind of random. I don't really like that too much. And also, there's like these transition bugs. So if you go from the grass to the road, it sometimes can, you just steer suddenly to the left or the right. And I don't like that. And that's what they kind of also try to avoid. And but unfortunately, it's not really helped, because I feel like it's kind of worse in the new game. But also the car accelerates a bit slower, from what I understand. But still, it's more or less the same game. It's not like a terrible disaster. It's not like 1.6 and Source, where it's like completely different feeling of the game or something like that. But definitely they can do more work at it. And I can also mention stuff like the camera. At first, camera 2 was a completely different camera. It was the same as in Canyon. They just kind of copied it, I believe. But then now recently they have put it back, so it's kind of the same as in Nations. But the difference is that the depth of field is still different. So the camera still feels kind of different to me and to others, and I don't like that. I wish you can either remove that completely, or you can just customize how you want it. That would be actually the best, if you can just customize everything exactly as you want. That's also like another thing that I think would make an esport even better, if you can customize all that. I guess that answers the question.
For sure. Have they announced like when the complete game will be out, or this is a beta, as I understand?
They mentioned April, but I don't know if that will happen, because Nadeo have in the past said that they will do something at that time, but then have always pushed it further. So I wouldn't be surprised if that happens with this too. And I think that's probably a good thing, because I think they can do a lot to the game, and I feel like they maybe haven't had the time to focus on it, because they have Shootmania, which they have worked on for so long. But I'm also kind of worried, because they also have this new Trackmania environment called Valley, which is going to be out, I guess, this year or something, and maybe they are focusing on that instead of Stadium. So that's also kind of, I don't really like that. I wish they were gonna focus a bit more on Stadium and to make it like a better esport game. But we have different opinions about that.
But what I personally, this is their opinion, it's their game, of course, but what I think is kind of strange, to me at least, but I mean, Stadium always been bigger when it comes to esport, and I guess, I'm not sure, but I guess the community as well. I could be wrong, because I don't know much about the other parts when it comes to United and stuff. I mean, what I don't understand is why they didn't want to continue focusing on esport as many others do. Okay, they do with Shootmania, and of course Nations was meant to be esport created, I guess, but I kind of felt they haven't lately. Am I wrong here?
I mean, if you ask them, they will say that they have always kept the esports focus, because to them, Nations, United, Shootmania, whatever, it's the same thing for them in a way. And so for them, they have always kept the esports focus. But to me, and maybe to others, I feel like, Stadium or Nations or whatever you want to call it, that has been like the esport of the game.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it has been like dismissed in a bit. It's been ignored that it has been this phenomenon, because the game, it blew up in popularity. It was Nadeo's biggest success. It still is their biggest success. For sure. And it was like everyone played the game. Like Counter-Strike people like KarjeN and stuff, they also played the game. Like, I know that. Yeah. At tournaments and stuff, they always played the game for fun.
Oh, cool.
It was like a phenomenon. It was like the racing game in esports. And unfortunately, I feel like they kind of lost an opportunity there, because they could have focused on that much more and made that a big thing. And maybe we would have been in a much better situation now, where we would have had much better status as an esport. And I feel like that's a bit of a shame, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if you compare it, I mean, I never seen like United represented in a very big tournament, at least. Maybe they had some underground tournament somewhere, or like in France, I guess, of course, they gotta have it. But have United been big anytime, I mean, esport-wise, or am I just not seeing it?
No, you're right, of course. I mean, the Nations games and like Original and Sunrise, I mean, those games were first, of course, and there were tournaments in those games, obviously. But I mean, it was never on the same level, on kind of like the esports level as Nations was, because Nations was developed for as an esport, like it was made for ESWC to be an esport racing game, and I think they made a great work with that.
Yeah, for sure.
And it got really popular. Maybe people say, but it was a free game, and that's what United people always says. It's only popular because it's free. Like that's the only reason why it's so popular. Like no, people don't play a free game just because it's free for so long.
No.
Like, I played this game for like 6 years, and it's not because it's free. And just to be fair, I bought the game 2 times, so I mean, I'm not one of those freeloaders. But I mean, that's just so silly to say, because it doesn't make sense. Nations is, and it's different from those environments as well. It's the only game at the time before KarjeN where you have to drift, and I think that makes it so much more complex and better as an esport with the drift. I mean, the United environments, if you can call it that, because Stadium was also part of United. So it's kind of, but I mean, those other environments, they, I mean, I don't think the format works. It's supposed to be played like with many environments at the same time. So it's like a triathlon, in real world, real sport. But if you look at triathlon, that's swimming, biking, and running. I think. I mean, all those things are bigger on their own. And that's kind of also how I see it with the Stadium and the other environments. Like it's much better to have like a better focus on just one thing. It just makes more sense to me, and that's kind of also what I don't like about Mania Planet. Like I wish it was more clear, because Trackmania is so confusing as well. Like people say, oh, what's Trackmania? I mean, Trackmania is so many things, and I think that's kind of a bad thing for an esport. I think it's better to have a better focus, to just say like, this is our esport, this is how competitive play is supposed to be. Like I think that's better.
And also one thing that I thought of, at least, I mean, I guess seeing it from a spectator's view, okay, I know that like StarCraft 2, and I'm really glad for that as well. It's cool to see esport grow, and of course it's really interesting and all that. But I mean, when I first watched, Trackmania, and to me, I always felt like, not always, because I can honestly say I don't understand everything in StarCraft 2, not even close, but I really like it anyways. I do know what it's. One guy's gotta win. That's basically, I know a little bit about it, and I really enjoy it. But I mean, it's way easier, at least, to understand, like say a game like Quake Live. I mean, spectator friendly, easier to learn, easier to watch, at least. Even you don't have to know everything. I mean, it's so spectator friendly from my point of view, at least. And I kind of felt like, to me, I'm a bit surprised the game haven't been growing even more, because I used to follow esports, at least not as now, I guess, but I really liked Quake Live, easy to understand, 1 versus 1. I mean, to me it's one of the best of all time, at least from a spectating view. And Counter-Strike as well, and as said, okay, StarCraft 2 is more complex, way more. But in that matter, I kind of felt like people love Formula 1. It's basic, not the same. I mean, this is drifting and everything, and it's a game, so I don't compare it being as huge as Formula 1. But there there is no like any, I mean, other car game out there, that like competes with the game either. So it's like the only, at least to me, that I know of, really good competitive esport game, and it hasn't gone bigger. How do you see it like? Why hasn't it become grower? Is this just the other games, marking themselves better or something like that?
Well, I think those other games, I think they are more complex than Trackmania. Yeah. I mean, Trackmania is complex too in other ways.
Yeah.
But those games, they're all focused on strategy. Like, that's the main thing, I think.
True,
and I think
true.
I also kind of want to see like more strategic elements to a racing game. I think that's kind of the key, because that's like esports. I think that's a good formula for it. So I think that might have to do something with it, that it's kind of too easy. Like, it's just, and some people like that. I like that. I think it's cool with just, more simple sports. Like, you see that in real life as well. There's like more, simpler sports,
for sure.
that's only based on one thing. And that's kind of what Trackmania is too. You want to drive fast, but of course we all know that it's more to it than that. But from people looking out, and maybe people from like StarCraft and stuff like that, when they see the game, they just see, oh, it's very simple. You just drive, anyone can do that. It's super easy. But that's so far from the truth. Like, it's not even real. I know, like, people that maybe dismiss the game, and I think it's a no skill game. Like, when they try the game and they see how hard it is to play on the top level, I mean, it gives a lot more respect. But the problem is that it's not really visible to other people. I don't think they see it as that, and maybe that's something that needs to be more clear. And I think some more strategic elements to it doesn't hurt. I think that would help a lot to make the game better as an esport and more popular. Like, I think that, Nadeo have made it kind of their thing to make their games as easy as possible. Like, Shootmania is also kind of like a dumbed down version of Quake. But that game isn't really that popular. Like, Quake is still much more popular. So I think that says something, that people want it to be more complex. And I think that really helps for an esport too. Like, I don't think you should underestimate people's like will to be, to play a smart game or whatever. To explain it like that. But I think that could be something to think about.
For sure. And also, we're currently at this tournament, of course, called Trackmania Masters, where you now are in, is it the quarterfinals or semifinals, or where are we?
It's quarterfinals.
Quarterfinals. And you had an easy group stage, I guess, in like the earlier part of Trackmania Masters, so to speak.
Yeah, it wasn't any problems really, and not the first. We got the def win the first playoffs round of 32, and then last week we won against BX3 in a pretty close match.
Yeah.
So yeah, and now we play against 3D Max.
Yeah, for sure. How do you feel like when you met BX3? Like your own performance? Anyone who stood out that game, or like team effort? And what about BX3?
Yeah, BX3. I mean, that was of course BX3 is a really strong team, and they are one of the best teams in the world. So
yeah,
I mean, one player you got to mention is Tala,
who
plays for them. I think he's probably one of the best players in the world. But the problem is that he doesn't really play that much. He only plays like a couple of team matches, and so yeah, that it was a close match. We won 7-5, 7-2. The second match we were a bit better, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, like looking forward to the tournament, we're playing against 3D Max today.
Yeah.
Also a good team, but I still feel pretty confident that we can make it. And then if we win this match, we would play against probably Rule Them All, which we have played against before. We played against them in a semi-final in STC where we lost last year. So that would be cool if we can like have a rematch against them. So yeah, but in the grand final, it's probably gonna be Dignitas, because for some reason they got a really easy bracket.
Yeah, I saw that. Was pretty different.
Yeah, all the good teams are on one side and Dignitas on the other. It's kind of silly.
Yeah, it was pretty strange. I gotta agree with that. How about like we can talk about? You mentioned Dignitas now. You met them like I don't know how many times. Of course, you won as well. But the latest match when you met them at least was it ESL or what was it? I might be.
Yeah, that was the last tournament. Yeah,
I think so.
CPS.
Yeah.
CPS 10.
What would you say at the current state, at least? It's like, of course you won't say it, but have you felt like it was your own performance not able to beating Dignitas the match when you met them, or was it Dignitas being too good just that day? Or how do you see on it? I mean,
well, I guess it's kind of a combination, because I definitely don't feel like I've been playing at my best recently.
Yeah.
Like before, in the past, I've always been kind of the guy that carried the team, like, you know, with the most points and all that. So, and the final, I didn't play good at all. It was probably one of my worst performances ever. But at the same time, I mean, Carl Jr. was amazing for Dignitas, and he really I think he kind of won the match for them, because in the 3 versus 3 he was great. And so yeah, I mean, kind of a combination there. But I mean, the rivalry between us and Dignitas, I think that's a pretty cool one, and I think that makes us kind of a legit esport, you know, that there is a rivalry such as that. Because I think every esport, like a proper esport, needs a good rivalry. So I think that's great. And but at the same time, of course, I wish there were other teams that could but there are other teams, of course, but somehow it seems like mostly it's us and Dignitas in the finals. And I mean, recently we haven't really won against them. Last time we won against them was in the TMT final in, I think it was November last year.
Yeah.
Which, let's not talk about that, because that was not a fun experience. But yeah, I mean, I'm confident that we can still beat them. It's not like they are like at a different level than us. I think we can win against them, and we'll see. I guess we'll see if we first will play in the final against each other.
Yeah, for sure. And also a player that I gotta say, I'm not a newcomer or anything but kind of new in Acer, that impressed me a lot. That is Poker, actually. How do you see him this day? I was pretty sick, I would say, against BX3. And sorry, that was my fault.
Huh?
Hold on a second. Of course, this is gonna happen now.
What happened?
Yeah, I'm gonna turn this down. that we let's pretend that was trolling by me.
I'm not sure what happened, but okay.
No, it was my Spotify who went on. It was my mistake. So let's pretend that was trolling, guys. Yeah, but it gotta happen sometime, and now was the time. You gotta screw up once at least. Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. Yeah, Poker. How do you feel about his performance, and how has he been doing, like lately in Acer?
Yeah, I definitely think he's been a good recruitment for us. I mean, it was kind of sad though, because it was Infuse that died. Dignitas recruited 2 players from them, and then it kind of died. And then, as a result, Poker was free, and we decided to take him in the team. And it's been a great addition to the team. I think he's very motivated, and that's always a good player to have, that you can trust on. So that's great, and I'm happy to have him in the team.
Yeah, for sure. And I also saw you recruited Azrich, the former Druids player, and also he was in BX3, maybe not the longest time in the world, but he's been great as well. So I guess this is also good for you. And I know that him and Poker are kind of close and friends and all that, so that could also be important, I guess.
I mean, that's kind of recently. We brought him in as a trial member.
Oh, yeah.
So he will play for us in CPS, and then we will see.
Okay, sorry, it's a trial.
Now it's a trial.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. What do we have? We have a lot. No, how much time do you have here now? I don't want to stress you or anything.
No, it's fine. I mean, usually we play our qualifiers or so at like 1 hour before the match. So, I mean, there's still time. There's no rush, really. Okay,
cool. So let's see do any of you guys in the crowd have any questions for Frost? Be my guest and ask, and not anything you like, but team related, please. So while we're waiting on that, I guess I have more questions here. I was on the BX3 part here. I was so when the Spotify started playing, I was what is happening here? So I guess we already talked about that, but I mean, we all have memories, as you know, but do you have any favorite memory or memories? Could be recently, could be in the past, or could be something you already talked about, and why?
I mean, I definitely have to mention my World Cup titles. So ESWC 2008 was special to me, and also when I won World Cyber Games 2010, which was, I mean, we haven't talked about that event, but that was, I mean, I already then had some issues with my wrist, and I was kind of not as confident for that tournament as I was for ESWC 2008. So it was a much harder tournament for me, but I'm very happy with managing to still win that tournament, because that was a very tough one, a very close final against the Pessy and Carl, where I only won with 1 round difference. So those two I definitely have to mention, and then I can also mention Nations Cup when we won against France, still the only team besides France that's won Nations Cup. That was an amazing final. And definitely, if we talk about online, then I have to mention that as my best memory, because, I mean, beating France, no one has done that except us, and it was just a great final.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, funny thing is, and I also answer. I mean, I can't talk now. I like when I told the viewers, so to speak, go ahead and answer, ask questions, and then I had scrolled up a bit, so I thought why are they so quiet when the Spotify came on here? But anyways, I got some questions here. It was let me see here. It is from Niklas again, 2011. Frost, who do you think is the best Acer player at the moment? And he had some suggestions here. Vini, Tamarillo, Poker, or yourself.
Well, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, but What can I say? I mean, we have so many good players. It's kind of hard to say. I mean, if you look at, offline events, then you got to mention Tamarillo, of course.
Yeah.
Because he did really well at Gamers Assembly. But I mean, we have so many good players that I'm sure would do good as well offline. It's just that maybe they don't have the opportunity to do so. But yeah, I mean, I can't really answer that question. I guess it's hard to say.
Gotta stay friends.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Let's see here. We also got a question here from DFF Wormy, I think. Are the maps in leagues nowadays better than before, or do you miss old weird maps from the leagues of 2006, 2007?
Well, I mean, kind of. I mean, it's fun when there's different styles of maps. I like that. I'll always like that about this game, that there can be, very different ways of competing. So say, multi-laps, for example. Like, I don't mind that at all. I think that's pretty fun. So yeah, I mean, I wish maybe there were more different maps. I wouldn't have anything against that, for sure.
Yeah. And also, do you miss any of the tournaments that ain't present anymore? Like, let's say, I remember TNA, and we had Guile for a moment, like this 100, was it euro or something, weekly for a while.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're missing, I think.
Yeah.
I think like a weekly tournament like that. There were Zotac, but unfortunately they picked KarjeN, which was kind of so well, and that kind of hurt us, but that's another thing.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, kind of like that would be a great thing to have. But for team tournaments or so, I mean, TNA I think it was kind of like one tournament thing, so I don't really miss that too much. I mean, of course, World Cyber Games is something that would have been great if we had bigger, major offline tournaments. We only kind of have ESWC that's anything worth, and also that is not doing so well. Like last year we had only 8 players, and the prize money was also really low. And I think that's because of KarjeN too, and I imagine this year Valley will also have that, so we kind of have to share all that, and there will be even less players and not as good competition. So yeah, I guess that's some examples of tournaments I miss.
Yeah, for sure. So let's leave Trackmania for a little while here. The other racing games and stuff. So keep the questions rolling, guys. The more the merrier. Anyways, this is a question at least. This is from, it's Fresh Coog. Do you have some best friends in Trackmania?
Best friends?
BFFs.
Well, of course I have to mention my team, like my teammates in Acer. Some of them I played with for many, many years, so those guys are definitely my best friends. I have to say. Yeah.
Also saw the interviews. For those who haven't seen that, by the way, I guess many of you have already. Make sure to watch or at least see the interviews that Tamarillo made. And I guess it was with, at least so far, it's been with you, Spam, and DVD, right?
Yes, I think he has some others also up his sleeve. So definitely check those out. Yeah,
for sure, they were great. So I've seen them myself, and I really liked them as well. So let's talk about you played. Did you start off with F-Zero, or was it Mario Kart? For those, I guess many of you know what this kind of games is. If not, this is console classic retro Nintendo racing games, you could say, right?
Yes. So actually my first ever game that I owned myself was Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo. So that was my first racing game that I played a lot. And I mean, I'm playing it right now. Actually, I went back to it and I stream it sometimes too. And when I play it, it all kind of makes sense because it resembles Trackmania in so many ways. Like there's the drift, there's the good control, and those simple things like taking the perfect turn. It feels so good in that game, just as it does in Trackmania.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that's kind of my roots with Mario Kart. I started playing that.
Yeah.
Then also discovered F-Zero and played that a lot. I was actually the overall world champion in F-Zero over all the games. Not anymore. Sure. I haven't really.
No.
It's kind of hard to stay up to date. But yeah, I mean those were like time attack games. You submitted your times to these sites. Those sites still exist and there are strong communities and that's how I started competing in video games.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess it's also more F-Zero games out these days compared when you started, of course. So is it like an overall ranking, or do you rank specific? I mean, from each game.
Well, I wish I could say there's more F-Zero games, but actually there hasn't been a new games in 10 years. So.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Sadly, we still wait.
It's about time then, I guess.
Yes, yeah, that would be amazing. But yeah, basically it's time attack, and you just count all the games together. Average finish is one way of doing it, and so yeah, that's the way to compete in those games. There's other ways now too. So in like Mario Kart, you can play online against each other, which is pretty cool. So yeah.
Is there like someone out there these days like considered to be the best F-Zero player, or is it so many different games you can't really pick one?
I mean, we still have our rankings, and there is one guy who is first, and that's a guy called Richard Taro, which is a Japanese player.
Okay.
He's the overall F-Zero champion right now. He's really good at like almost all the F-Zero games.
Oh.
So yeah, like the Japanese players, they are good in both F-Zero and Mario Kart. There's a lot of those in those games.
For sure. Do you find it strange, or maybe not, but as you mentioned now, I mean, I always also seen like Japanese gamers, at least when it comes to racing games, at least like as you mentioned, Mario Kart, F-Zero, like always on the top. But you like never seen anyone from Japan, or at least I haven't. Maybe someone, but I mean, maybe it's not the same feeling, I guess, or it's not console. Or do you have any answer to that? Why?
Yeah, I mean, PC gaming isn't really that big in Japan, so that explains it mostly. But for Trackmania, it's also it's only in Europe the game really blew up. It wasn't advertised anywhere else. It wasn't really advertised in Europe either. But that's I think that's a big reason why it hasn't really, because there's nothing that says the game couldn't have been just as popular in the America and in like Asia. But it's all about getting the game out there and advertise it.
True. Yeah. And we got some questions here again. We got from DFF Wormy again. More about maps. Do harder or easier maps in leagues? This long. Should all be about drifting, or also other things in Trackmania like wall banks, air controlling, etc. Some tournaments back then had even loops in them. It was a long question, but did you get it?
I get his point that like basically more variety of the maps. Yeah, for sure. I mean, as long as it's well done, then I'm fine with whatever, as long as it makes sense.
Yeah.
And I encourage people to be creative about that and not, stay to a certain formula of maps. I think that's not the way to go. I think it's good with a big variety of maps.
Yeah. And we also got a question here from Esuba Kuba YZ. Kuba. Let's call him Kuba. I know.
Kubais.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I know.
Sounds weird in Swedish, but that's how it is.
Yeah. Hey Frost, what do you think about the Czech and Slovak scene, and how would you place Isuba between the top teams?
That's definitely one of the strongest scenes we have. I mean, I think after France, that's the strongest scene in Trackmania, because they still have offline events and all that, which is really cool. And yet, to answer the other question, Isuba, I mean, Isuba is one of those teams that mostly only plays offline events.
Yeah.
Sadly, I think, because I'd love to see them play more online.
Yeah,
so that's why it's kind of hard to judge them. But I mean, players like Haki Junior and Tween, those are world-class players. So I mean, it's one of the best teams for sure. And I just only wish that they would play more team tournaments.
Yeah. And also here's a questions from Bained Droppa. Who do you consider to be the top 5 best players from Sweden ever?
Well, if you don't take into consideration how good they are now, then I would have to mention people like Unaimed and Madness. Of course, those wouldn't be good these days. But besides those, of course, KarjeN. Also, people like Krolle and Alex have been really good. Salgo needs to be mentioned. He was very good back in the day. Who else? Well, of course, Kevin, who played for Dignitas. I don't think he's active anymore, but definitely also one of the best players. So I guess that kind of answers the question.
And also, I guess there weren't no more questions, at least not at the moment. And also, back to the console part of it. How do you feel about I mentioned this earlier when we talked, Speedruns Live. It's not a new phenomenon, but it's grown a lot, I would say. Is that anything you would consider doing in the future, or maybe not time now when you're, of course, currently playing a lot of Trackmania?
I mean, Speedruns Live is one of those sites that focus on what's called speedruns, which is playing through games as fast as possible.
True.
And that's one of those communities that I've always been aware of, but I've never really been a part of, in a way, because I've never played games that way. But recently I started playing through the racing games that I play, because I've always been one of those, time attack players. And Speedruns Live, or speedruns, I would say rather, is playing it different. That's just playing through the game from one go to the end, And racing games doesn't really fit that too well, but it's still possible to do it. It's something I enjoy because it's a bit more casual than time attack. Time attack is just just playing over and over the same track, which can get kind of tedious, and it's most people don't really appreciate that. You gotta be kind of crazy to do that, I think. But yeah, speedruns is something I enjoy, and I don't know if I would do it in other games other than racing games, because racing games have always been the games that felt natural to me to play. But for sure, I mean, these days I'm streaming that. Super Mario Kart, for example, I've done some speedruns of that, and other F-Zero games I've done that too. So yeah, that's something I really enjoy, and I hope it will grow bigger and bigger, because it's getting kind of big these days. So that's cool.
For sure. Are you following any of the more famous speedruns players, or any? And what games do they play?
I mean, there's one person you gotta mention, which is Cosmo, which is the guy that co-founded the Speedruns Live, and he's kind of like the lead figure of that whole community. And he plays mostly Zelda games, but also other games too. So that's one of the guys that you gotta mention.
For sure. He currently plays Wind Waker a lot, right? Yeah. And I can also mention one guy that you could follow if you really if you want to see someone who is really sick at Super Mario 64, you should watch Siglimic. There are way more there. Anyways, is there any like future LAN or events coming your way, or like what's the next thing after TMM, ESL, and anything else?
For team tournaments, it's ESL. They will host another CPS season, and also country championship will make a return, which is like a Nations Cup, but that includes tech, speed, and dirt. So that's pretty interesting concept, and I'm sure I will play that. But yeah, that's for like online. For offline, there's not really much going on, sadly. I was at Gamers Assembly, which was awesome.
Yeah.
And I wish there were more tournaments, but I mean, realistically, the game isn't doing too well right now, and that's just how it is. And so, ESWC, we will see if they will pay my prize money, then I will attend. But otherwise, I will still keep my boycott of them. So So that's kind of where I stand right now.
Yeah, and also could talk about that, of course, as well. You've been to the, assembly this year and last year, right? And
yes,
I guess it didn't go as planned. And also, I don't think you haven't gone bad or anything. But I maybe you have had this question before. But do you see it like you're not at your former level, or bad luck, or have other players become better, or how do you explain this? Or is it like you explain it?
Well, for this Gamers Assembly that was recently, it was kind of hard because I had to play with the new camera. I was playing with camera 3 actually, because as mentioned earlier, the camera 2 was changed in the new game. Now it's back to normal, kind of, not really, but I was playing with camera 3, which I had never done before.
Yeah.
So that was kind of...
I had no idea.
Yeah, so that made it very hard for me, and I didn't really expect to do that well. I was good in practice before the tournament, but of course it's a totally different thing to play in matches. So yeah, I got top 7, so that was kind of... I was disappointed, of course, because I always want to do better, but at the same time I was also realistic, and you know, with the new camera I had only played for like 1 month. It was kind of difficult to adjust to that. And last Gamers Assembly I was playing KarjeN at the same time. Which was, you know, it's really hard to play 2 games at that level at the same time.
True.
I mean, some people, I don't think anyone can really have done that, you know, attempted that like I did.
No.
I tried that, and I got second in Gamers Assembly in KarjeN, but then failed to reach the final in Nations. So I think that had something to do with why I didn't do so well in Stadium, because I was playing 2 games at the same time. But yeah, you're right. I haven't really played as good as I've been known to do in the past, and I think that's mainly because of my wrist, my hand wrist.
True.
Because I've had a lot of issues with it lately. I was even after ESL Major Series in December last year. I took a break and I didn't play at all for the whole January, just because my wrist was just completely like used up. I couldn't hold the controller even. It was that bad.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I think many people can like relate to that it's a very demanding game actually for your wrist, and I think it's super important, especially if you play a lot and play for so long as I have. It's very important that you take care of your wrist, because that's really the most important thing for you know, playing. And so these days I do a lot of, you know, stretching and stuff like that, and it helps a bit, but I'm still not really 100% recovered with my wrist. And so it's all constant like struggle and just, you know, trying to find a good way to play, like maybe hold the gamepad a different way and stuff like that I've always tried to improve. So that's kind of the reason why I haven't done so well. But at the same time, it's not like I'm playing super bad. I mean, I can still play.
For sure not.
Like last Team Masters match, I still had the most points actually of all the players. So but I don't really feel like I'm at that great level as I have been so many times before in the past, unfortunately.
Maybe it's coming back to you, who knows. You did pretty good though in Alienware, didn't you?
Well,
Or
I reached the semifinal.
Semi-final, okay.
And unfortunately, I lost out on the final with 1 point. But yeah, that was really a bad tournament for me. I wasn't playing that well
Okay.
at all.
Yeah.
Of course, some people might say semifinal is still okay, but for me, it was kind of a failure, to be honest.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. And also, when we talked earlier a little bit about, Stadium and Stadium 2 now, I remember you played a lot of, like, that was also like weekly tournaments. Was it Zotac you played, I guess?
In KarjeN, yes.
Yeah, KarjeN it was, yeah, sure. And you won, like, almost everyone you participated in, right?
I won 16 times out of 23. I made a video of that with my best plays, actually. But yeah, that was like a weekly tournament for KarjeN that didn't last for too long. I mean, it lasted, like, I think 24 weeks or something like that, 25 weeks.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I wish it would have been in Nations instead. That would have been much better.
Yeah. Was that like, was that like, it's always nice with cash in the pocket, or was it like, why not? It's not my favorite game, but it could be fun.
Yeah, that was kind of how I looked at it, because even though I didn't really like that KarjeN was trying to take Nations' place in esports, I might have as well play it, because I mean it's good for my sponsors and my team that I show good results, and I felt like I was good enough to also win. So I just did that, and still played Nations at the same time, and that was still my main focus. Like, I was mostly playing Nations and then just KarjeN on the side.
Yeah.
But yeah, to be honest, I'm kind of glad that it stopped, because it was just not good to play two games at the same time, as I mentioned before. Like, it's very demanding to do that, and so yeah.
Yeah, and also about, like, we talked about a little bit about esports earlier. Do you follow, like, any other esports games these days?
Sure. I mean, definitely StarCraft mainly, I would say, these days. I was watching yesterday, for example, the Dreamhack Open tournament.
Yeah.
So I do watch that casually. I don't play the game or anything like that, and I'm not I'm not an expert of it either. But I really like esports as a whole, as a phenomenon. You know, back in the day, like 2008, when I was trying to take it more seriously, I was watching a lot of Brood War matches, actually, so StarCraft War, and that kind of motivated me and inspired me, actually, to also try to take it more seriously. And I think that got a lot to do with why I was so good, because I was maybe taking it more seriously than others were, and but I don't think there's anything wrong with that or anything. That's just, so yeah, that's like StarCraft, definitely, I would have to say. Also, I was watching a lot of Quake, but not as much anymore though. But yeah, back in the day I was, at least.
Yeah, it kind of dropped in public and stuff
sadly.
like that. Yeah, sadly, for sure. What was I about to ask here? I guess that, like, more or less covers it. This was a really nice interview, I must say, and it was almost 2 hours. So
yeah, I mean, we could probably go through a lot more if we wanted, but that would be crazy.
Yeah, let's not spoil them too much here.
Yeah.
So, anyways, thanks a lot, Frost, for this interview. It has been both interesting and really fun to interview you, I gotta say. And do you have any, like, final shout-outs or anything you would like to say before we close the show?
Yeah, well, of course, shout-outs to you, Hanken, for doing this project. I think it's pretty cool to, hear what people from the community says, and, that's always cool.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I want to thank Team Acer and their affiliates, NVIDIA and Rocket. Just an awesome team, and I'm really happy to be a part of that team, and I hope I can be a part of it for a long time. To be a part and be involved in esports. Maybe not Trackmania in the future. We will see how it goes. Hopefully, I can be that. But if there's another game, then I maybe will play that. We will see. But definitely want to be a part of esports as long as I can.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
for sure. Let's hope that will be the case as well. So thanks guys for watching, and once again thanks Frost, and see ya around on the track. Bye bye guys.